I told you last week what it's about, so just smooth it over when I can.
I mean,
Just sell us the property and no worries.
that was reading. I stand by what I said at the last meeting. I think that's the way it should be. Be ugly. All the time.
Pretty sure that's not what you said. This thing isn't open.
Y'all got real quiet. Y'all must know it is 6:30 almost. Everybody's conversations came to a halt almost.
And get ready for the feast.
I see. I hope I'm not on the plate.
I also just don't want it loud because of the mic things.
I'll wait this 30 seconds out.
Like how that says 6:33.
Good evening, everybody. It is now 6:30, January 10th, 2022. At this time, I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order. We will start with Pledge of Allegiance, and invocation will be given by 4th Ward Council Member Laura Dreyer Schlechte. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, 2023. This year, let's have more wisdom, knowledge, confidence, self-love, and compassion. Thank you. There you go.
Madam Clerk, if you will hit us with a roll call, please.
Mayor Daniel Mahoney,
Present.
Vice Mayor Arlene Robinson,
Present.
Second Ward Council Member Freddie Dancy,
Present.
Third Ward Council Member Angelita Gunn,
Present.
Fourth Ward Council Member Laura Dreyer Schlechte,
Here.
Fifth Ward Council Member Karen Bennell,
Present.
Sixth Ward Council Member Will Forgrave.
Here.
Thank you very much. Looking for a motion and support to adopt the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda with the addition of 10A, homeless situation update.
Can we make that 8D?
8D. You can make it whatever number you want it to, as long as it's on the agenda.
Thanks. And then also item 9J, the applicant requested that item be removed.
Okay.
9J. 9J.
Let's grab on it.
Support.
It's been moved and supported with the addition of 8D and the deletion of 9J. Check, check. Mic is on. How, am I coming in clear? Okay. All right. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Agenda has been adopted. That brings us down to item number 5. Looking for a motion and support to, City of Jackson's audit report for fiscal year and June 30th, 2022, to be accepted and placed on file, correct?
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. All right. Brings us down to item number 6, public hearings. We have no public hearings today. Brings us down to item number 7, citizens' comment. Say it again.
Oh, we gotta have our audit presentation.
Oh, it is a presentation. Oh, okay, well, I tried. I tried.
Glad we
I
received it.
tried,
Let's
Mr. Dancy. I
talk about
tried.
Keep me on my toes over here.
I
So-
tried. I tried to get us out of here a little fast.
I think you understand the message that they sent then.
I very clearly understand the message here.
You take that
so-
back.
I will
Take
do
your
the-
time. Come on down. We got 50,000 questions for you.
All right. Well, thank you. My name is Nate Valderman. I'm the audit principal at Raymond that was in charge of your audit. I will be very brief tonight, just giving you kind of a status of the audit, you know, and just highlighting some of the things that were a little bit different this year. So first, we did issue the report, and you should have a final copy of the audit report, the annual comprehensive financial report. We issued that on December 5th. It was one of the last duties of the previous your retiring finance director, Phil Hones. But we worked with Phil and obviously a lot with Heather as well, and look forward to continuing to work with her on that. You did receive an unmodified or a clean opinion. When you're looking at the audit report, I will just point out there's a change in the format of the report, of the independent auditor's report. It's organized just a little bit differently than it was in the past, but it really didn't result in any significant change in what our audit requirements were. There's been some changes, new auditing standards that have come out that told us to reorganize how that is. I will tell you, one of the most basic things is they move the actual audit opinion to the first two paragraphs instead of sticking it in the middle of the report. So it's easier to find now. So, but it is considered an unmodified report. Other changes this year, we did implement a new standard related to leases. It's one of those, we assisted with the city with this. There were some additional audit procedures required related to that. It was basically a change in how you account for both sides of it, where you're leasing out property and equipment, those types of things, as well as how what used to be called capital and operating leases are now accounted for. So that was a change this year. No material changes, I would say, in the financial statements, but there were some more disclosures and changes in disclosures as a result of that. The other thing that I would point out in the report, in addition to doing the financial audit on this for this report, we also did a single audit because of the amount that you spend in federal funds. This year, as a part of our testing, and that's when you're looking at the report, it's at the very back end of the report. This year, and it's, if you're looking for the summary schedule, it's on page 235. This year, as you might expect, with all of the new federal awards that have come out through ARPA, we did end up testing the fiscal recovery funds, and tested that. I expect that will be something that we're looking at for the next couple of years as the city continues to spend its allocations. So on that page 235, that's a great summary of the audit in terms of not having to read all the different pieces of our reports. For the financial statements, we had an unmodified opinion. We also look at internal controls as a part of our testing. We don't give an opinion, but we're required to report items that are significant or material to you. There were no items to report, so no findings. Same way on the federal awards and the single audit when we're testing those major programs. We have to report internal control items on compliance as well as any issues of non-compliance that we come across as a part of our audit, and there were no items. So same as last year, very clean audit. No comments or findings there, as well as the separate letter that we issue. We had no comments on that letter either. So be happy to answer any questions that you may have on the audit. But again, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for your work. Thank you to the finance department and the team for another good finance report with no significant findings. That's the major thing that I always look for, so thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Okay, now we'll go to public hearings, which we have none, and then now we will go to public comment. All right, so we'll just start with reading the rules for public comment. Rules for speaking before city council. Number 1, each speaker will state their name and address prior to addressing council. Number 2, each speaker is limited to up to 3 minutes during citizen comment portion of the meeting. Council members will not debate or answer questions at this time. Number 3, each speaker should be polite and courteous to the council and the members of the public in attendance. While any speaker is free to express his or her opinion on any subject, no speaker may direct personal attacks at any member of the staff or council unrelated to the manner in which they perform their duties. Use obscene language while addressing the city council or engage in disruptive or disorderly behavior during a council meeting. Number 4, should any speaker cause a breach of the peace through their conduct, the mayor may declare the speaker out of order. Number 5, if a speaker is declared out of order by the mayor and refuses to cease and desist from disruptive or disorderly conduct, the mayor may order the person removed from the meeting. Number 6, each speaker may speak once under public comment and may not yield their time to others. Mr. John C. King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John King, 203 3rd Street in the city. Turns out Joe Biden had classified documents taken to an unsecured office from his time as vice president. None of his residence or offices has had armed raids on them, though. The enemy, the mainstream media, is pushing rationalization that this situation is different from that of President Trump's situation. Well, it is, and that President Trump had the supreme authority to declassify documents, and that Vice President Biden did not. Not to mention President Trump's documents were more secure. The Gestapo has nothing on the Biden administration's Department of Justice and FBI. Regarding homelessness here in the city, this city council in the last meeting decided to urinate away hundreds of thousands of dollars by buying prefabricated shelters from a company looking to make a buck. The prudent thing to do, if doing a panic virtual signaling move could be considered prudent, would have been to take advantage of Jackson Public Schools willing to work with and help the city with a lease offer that was mentioned here last meeting. It would have at least allowed the city to get an idea of how many people actually would need the services of a city shelter. Instead, the city council decided if they build Daniel Mahoneyville, people will come even if it takes skirting codes. Then there's the hundreds, then there is in the hundreds of thousands amount of money going to residents in action to push for equity. One might think they didn't have much of a track record for such an important task, but as I had explained to this council by email, they have a poor track record. What is essentially their CEO who gave the presentation and couldn't answer so many questions and took credit for resources that really didn't belong to their organization. What essentially is their COO has lifelong criminal history of theft-related pleas, although she pushes the narrative now it was for dealing crack and she was only doing it for her kids. I mentioned this group and its predecessor has a consistent history of misuse of funds. It is beyond disgusting this council voted toward residents in action the bid. I guess by doing so, it pushes the racist equity agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. My name is Kelly Jean Louis. I reside at 200 North Jackson Street, Unit 421 in Jackson downtown. I am the general manager of one of the hotels here in Jackson, and it is America's Best Value Inn. I've been working hand in hand with Tasha Carter over the last couple of weeks. Homelessness is real. It's real. I've dealt with Mr. Willis in the past. Found a gentleman sleeping in my laundry room who hasn't had a home, had no socks, blisters all over his feet. So the homeless problem is real. Had two brothers that St. Vincent de Paul brought in yesterday. They experienced an electrical fire at their house at 1003 Clinton Street. The one brother is disabled, and they've been sleeping in an abandoned car wash. So when I deal with these people and mothers with children, people that don't have jobs, people that can't get apartments, people that have no credit, bad credit, whatever their situation is, it's real out there. It's been a pleasure to work with Tasha, and I just had to speak because I deal with it firsthand. From the city police, Blackman Township dropping people off, the inclement weather, it's real. So I just wanted to voice that the problem is out there, it does exist, and we do appreciate what city council did do for the homeless. Thank you.
John, Light.
Good evening, John Light, Pleasant Lake, Michigan. What I want to talk about tonight is the two meetings that you had on December 30th and the special meeting that you called on December 20th. On December 13th, you guys had a proposal in front of you, I believe it was from Segway. And you were discussing that, that was for the warming shelter, and you were discussing that. And that was starting to gain a little traction, so I was watching the meeting, I was thinking, you know, somebody's gonna call for a motion to vote on this, okay? And that's when Mr. Mahoney, who did not like the idea, says, whoa, whoa, whoa. He says, this bid is over $50,000, which it was, and we need to bid this out, okay? So you guys called a special meeting, you discussed that, there was a lot of discussion about whether it needed to be bidded or not, just about everybody commented. You voted to call a special meeting and allow all the players to come to the table and bid on this warming package, okay? So now we fast forward to the December 20th special meeting. Before you guys discussed the homeless package, which was the reason for the meeting, Mr. Forgrave made a motion that he wanted to buy $155,000 worth of pallet houses. Ms. Brunel seconded that motion. That motion passed 4-3. Brunel, Forgrave, Mahoney, and Dancy voted for that. So my question is to you folks, the four of you that voted for that, what happened to the $50,000 meeting, or $50,000 rule? Mr. Mahoney, you were rather adamant about that. You spent 2 or 3 minutes talking, saying, we need to bid this out. We're a government entity, we have to follow our own rules. Ms. Brunel, you spent a special amount of time on that too. You were telling everybody that you were a real rule follower. Drove your colleagues and your friends insane you were such a rule follower. You also said that we can't be a government entity that doesn't follow their own rules. Mr. Forgrave, you also had some comments on that. So my question to you guys is, I mean, aren't you embarrassed or aren't you concerned about you people that vote for you or the constituents? I mean, what do you tell them when they call up? So I got a suggestion for you. Tonight, instead of councilman comments, you guys have an unlimited amount of time. Instead of standing behind echoing somebody else's comments or not making no comments, do some damage control. Tell us, maybe you simply hit the wrong button. Maybe you made a mistake. Do something. Comment. Give some type of comment on why you did that, because that's horrible behavior. Just when you think the bar is set low, it gets set a little lower. So please, help yourselves out. Do yourselves a favor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sorry, say that again.
I just clear my throat, that's all.
Roger Malford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council people, and to you, Laura Schletke, for your invocation on asking for more compassion in the coming year for the citizens here in Jackson and the world. I really appreciate that. I'm here to talk, my address is 5696 Shady Oak Lane in Jackson, Michigan, and I think that is what you require. I'm here to talk again about ethanogenics, psychoactive plants such as magic mushrooms, and I'm asking that the city look at decriminalizing it, take targets off of people's backs, or at least the thought that they may have a target on their back if they should so seek psychedelics for personal therapy. Since Colorado, Oregon, and a lot of municipalities and states around the country have legalized or are in the process. For 2003, there are 11 states with bills currently going forward. Michigan had a bill last year to decriminalize, to legalize it, and it was a bipartisan. It was I don't know who, I forgot who the Republican was that co-sponsored it with Jeff Irwin out of the Senate. In Michigan so far, Washtenaw County has decriminalized it. Wayne County has decriminalized it, as has Hazel Park. Everywhere it has gone forward in front of the city councils have voted unanimously for it, to decriminalize it. In the county of Jackson, there has been no arrests for it, and so there wouldn't be any prosecutorial problems associated with the city officially decrimming it. I don't think our prosecutor would have a problem with that. It has been in the news a lot lately for, well, recent study helps with excessive drinking, depression, PTSD. At the federal level, bipartisan lawmakers have introduced a psychedelic caucus in Congress, and it's moving forward. Everybody is talking about it. Oh, and the FDA has just approved a large study that was in August. They approved that to for alcohol reduction therapy. So we have a lot of those problems here in Jackson, and because of the news, the people are looking into it and wondering about it. And we need to have this decrim so they can go out and get real information, find what they need to maybe grow it or whatever they want to do to get it without fear of arrest, prosecution, and having their lives turned upside down. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Joseph Van Dorn. Van Dam.
Good evening, council people, mayor. Name is Joseph Van Dam, 801 Edgewood Street in Jackson. And I'm here to talk about act that started back about 60 years ago. City of Jackson started a discriminatory act against certain homeowners. Those homeowners are the ones that own sidewalks. Not everybody in the Jackson City owns sidewalks. They stopped putting in sidewalks about 60 years ago. And they haven't put them in since. I have 200 lineal feet of sidewalk I have to maintain every year. I'm disabled. When they came along in 2008, redid East North Street, I had to move my sidewalk in 6 feet away from the road to stop the snowplows from burying my sidewalk. Little did I know, it didn't work. Because nobody parks there, they come along about 40, 45 miles an hour and bury my sidewalk every single time. I look across the street, they have no sidewalks. In 1971, they built East Jackson, or Northeast Junior High. There are no sidewalks going to that school. Along Floral Street, they have it on one side, not on the side where the school is. They have the youth home, no sidewalks. Certain areas, there's 30 feet, no sidewalks. 1 block, no sidewalks. They built Mycor, no sidewalks. They say they have no money, but we can build a 6 feet wide, so many mile long sidewalk in one part of the city. But the city that pays the taxes and supports the city for all the years before there was a sidewalk there, when there was a train running through there, can't get sidewalks. Every year, I have to shovel and maintain my sidewalks. Every year, I look across the street where no sidewalks are. That's discrimination. You're forcing liability onto me from people across the street having to come over to my yard or my sidewalk, I say that, not mine, to walk on that. Now, if I walk down North Street going, or East Edgewood Street walking north, when I get to McGuire Street, I cross the street, I walk into people's yards. If you come from Allen Road coming south, the sidewalk ends at the road. You have to walk across to people's private driveways in order to maintain your traverse. That's discrimination against that driveway, forcing the liability onto those people because the city can't continue the sidewalk to the right up McGuire Street so that you can keep going. It's time to end this practice of discriminating against people with sidewalks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Robert Hopkins.
Evening. My name's Robert Hopkins. I'm at 830 Royal Drive in Jackson. I'm here to help discuss about the homeless problem that we have. I work at America's Best Value and as a third shift night auditor. It is harder for me to have to go into the guest laundry and tell these people to get out. They can't sleep there. I know they're just trying to keep warm and to be safe. It's hard. I watch people build tents behind our dumpster next to the highway. So, I mean, this is a big problem. I mean, I'm a little nervous here. It is just really bad. I work at a laundromat too during the day. Every day I watch the same people go across the street to Wendy's, beg for money. Then they come over to the laundromat, they sit on the park bench and they shoot their drugs up. On a Sunday morning, I seen a guy come over and he shot his drugs up and he died right there on the park bench. There was no help for him. It is rough out there for these guys, and we got to figure out a way to do something. I mean, if Dollar General can put up a building in 3 or 4 weeks, why can't the city do that? Put up a homeless shelter that quick. Before I leave, I just want y'all to take a good look at me. I have been homeless for 3 years now. I have struggled to make it. Kelly, give me a job. I'm struggling to make it, but I'm making it, and I'm trying to turn my life around. But I know what they're going through. I've been homeless for 3 years, and it's rough. Thank you.
Jennifer Bittinger.
Happy New Year. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I did want to take this time to just be positive and be thankful at this meeting. I want to thank you all. I had to quickly read through the minutes for the previous meeting that dealt with this program funding for the homeless. I know someone personally that received the benefit of this program that I've been trying to help for a year and try to speak up and try to find help for her, bouncing around from hotel to hotel. So I told Jonathan a little bit earlier, I don't know all the details. I just had to skim through the minutes to find out. I don't know exactly all about the program, but I did want to tell you that I know someone personally that is very grateful, a very needy, desperate woman that was grateful for this program that she was put into. And I also wanted to just say thank you to those of you who will be able to vote and take stands on their convictions. I'm thankful for Mr. Dancy, who I heard tonight doing just that, and I want to encourage you all and thank you all for what you do for our city. Thank you.
Ted Brzezinski. Take your time, Ted, take your time.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council persons, and city manager. I'm Ted Brzezinski. I live at 936 Bennett Street in the city. I'm talking tonight about the pallet of apartments that you're thinking about building. It's a doable project, but the location is a poor location. you're gonna build new apartments, one block over, one block north in the next few years. And why would you build little apartments for people? When you're doing those, it'll degrade the project. The other thing is the best place to put them is behind Sega project there on Francis and Biddle. Put up the 10 there. I ran motels and hotels for 50 years. I got more experience probably anybody around in hotels. I worked at Amway Grand Plaza. I ran the main restaurant of the hotel. I worked at Holiday Inn North in Grand Rapids, Holiday Inn in Jackson 3 times, and a couple other places along the way in hospitality. That's all I know. One of the things is, why is the city trying to be the savior to everybody? Why can't the county be involved? I have yet to hear anything about the county. I don't think you people realize, but the county used to do it. They have a place, if you go out County Farm Road, that's marked as such. It's still there. And work with them, work with the state. I'm not saying you're not now, but let them take a working interest in it. We don't have to do everything. We can ask for help and get guidance from above on that. The other thing I was thinking, the city could, and I know they have the wherewithal to do it, contact the military. They have squad tents that are designed for year-round weather.
Thank you, Mr. Brzezinski.
Okay.
Right, at this time, that concludes our citizens' comments and brings us down to item number 8, petitions and communication from city staff and other governmental entities to be accepted and placed on file. Looking for a motion and support on item A, minutes of the December 2022 Board of Review.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. All right, brings us down to item B. Looking for a motion and support to accept and place on file the City of Jackson, Michigan financial statement as of and for the 5 months ended November 30th, 2022.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. That brings us down to item C, looking for a motion and support to accept and place on file the CDBG Home and CDBG CV Homeless Prevention financial summaries through November 30th, 2022.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Board has to be cleared, and it is now. Thank you, Eastside. Seeing or hearing no discussion on the item, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, passes and brings us down to item D, homelessness RIA update to be accepted and placed on file, and I believe everybody should have received a copy of that.
This will be the item will be amended in the packet, so it'll be put online as well tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, so what do I have?
It's separate. It's separate.
You just got it tonight.
But my motion was a discussion on homelessness, wasn't just, or an update on the homeless situation, wasn't just about this particular part of it. So I just want to make that clear when we accept this in, that my addition to agenda had to do with more than just Ria's part of the conversation.
Okay, we'll have to entertain that once we get to, I guess after our new business.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you
Try
wanted
to
a discussion on
add that there.
I know this is it, but where is it?
Well, when I
Let's,
planned on putting that on the agenda, I didn't realize you had this. But there were other items on our list of follow-ups, so it isn't just, thank you for the report, appreciate it, can't wait to read it. But I just want to make that clear, so if we want to amend the agenda to add something, that's why I was putting it under old business.
I'm okay with that. I mean, it's gonna take a motion and support at that point, but I think we should, like, let's get through this part. Once we get to old business and get through the old business, if you wanna make a motion to open discussion on that,
Okay,
I think it would take a motion and support at that point.
okay. I'll make a motion to accept this report into the record.
I'll support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? No discussion, but just one comment. Just want to say thank you for the work and thank you for providing this report to update us on what's going on.
Can we ask if she could just give us a
Well, that would be
2-minute
discussion, and
snapshot?
You just said you had no discussion for this
Well,
item,
I
no?
thought we were still, I didn't say no, I just
It's
didn't
our
respond.
first meeting.
I know.
Right.
Go ahead,
But
break
can
us
we
on
ask-
in.
Can we ask Tasha to give?
Tasha,
to-
would you mind coming up for
summarize this?
questions? If I would say questions, this is the summary. So, like, if you got questions, then ask away.
Well, we just got
We
this,
just
so
got
it's
it.
hard to
I-
have
I
questions.
understand. Take your
Yeah.
time.
That's why I
Okay,
asked
so
for
then
just
Would
a,
it be, can we take our time to review it? So we
Oh,
can, if we have
absolutely.
questions?
Absolutely. Take your time. The motion's on the floor, but take your time.
Okay.
I'm a very slow reader, so.
Never mind.
No, don't say, come on, city manager.
your piece,
Don't-
John.
Don't hold your tongue down.
There's also like questions you can send to our contractor offline after the meeting, so we're not sitting here for minutes and minutes and minutes.
Well, that's
for
why I
hours
just
and
said if
hours
she
and
could do a
hours talking about
2-minute
some
synopsis
hours
of
and
this
hours and hours.
6-page summary,
Yeah.
would be, help us, and then we'll read it. And if we have questions, then at the next council meeting, we can ask those or send her. But
Or
in
even
all
before.
fairness to our taxpayers, it's good to kind of be open and transparent with her.
That's why this is gonna be placed on the
record
line
and
for
online.
public viewing.
Right.
I think that is open and transparent. But Tasha, if you wanna like hit any highlights, like number of people served, number of people on the waiting list, I don't know, is there anything specific outside of that you guys are looking to be reported on?
So I do have one question. I actually was reading it. So, waiting list, we've got 103 people on the waiting list currently?
Yep, so
Okay.
I'll say the ask was, in the RFP, was for 25 unique
Yep.
individuals or families within, or over a 14-week period.
Yep.
We surpassed that within 3 days. So, because we were able to take advantage of the city contractual rate with the hotels, we were able to maximize the dollars. And so we have currently housed or hoteled 47 individuals or families. And we have 100, as of that report, we had 103. I've been responding to, I have full voicemail, social media, both of my emails, and Selena's also taken or triaging calls. So it's probably at least 20 more. Yeah, right.
Okay.
I have a, do you house them, even if the weather is moderate? You know, if it's not freezing out, you know, are you putting them in hotels even if it's 40, 45 degrees? Because
So-
we've had decent weather,
So what
obviously.
So what I'll say is, we've kind of been on standby and filling gaps because some people that were originally placed in the hotel, they may not be there anymore. So we've just it's been an open door for some of the rooms. And so we've been able to fill the gaps when those vacancies, when it becomes vacant. But when I get a call that a family with a 7-week-old baby is sleeping in their car, or I hear the chattering of someone's teeth and the wind blowing in the background at 2 a.m., because I take those 2 a.m. calls, I put them in a hotel. I don't say no. If we have a vacancy, they're placed in the hotel.
I just didn't know if you had a policy for weather, and I don't know if Community Action Agency or anybody in the continuum of care has a policy but if we get a winter storm and it gets frigid weather like we have had, if you can house more people, that's awesome, so, okay.
So has the issue with this credit debit been remedied?
It's getting there.
It's getting there.
We've got a good partner in
Okay.
RIA, and
Because that's
It's-
upsetting that Tasha's using her personal
Yep.
funds to supplement.
we've extended some of the things we've done, and no, it's the first time I read it in there, so I asked Corey I want to talk.
Okay.
I want to talk
Okay.
some details about that.
All right. I would like to speak a little bit just about what the overall process is. So we get a call, we've developed a intake assessment process where we use empathic interviewing process to have people tell us what their life situation is, and we've created an algorithm to help us prioritize who is at the greatest need. So basically, if you have minor children, if you're disabled, if you're elderly, if you're experiencing medical conditions, all of that is taken into consideration as we place people.
I would like to, sorry.
I'm
you go.
sorry, so then you have kind of a ranking, or how, is that what
Yeah,
you're doing?
it's kind of a point system.
Mhm.
I don't think you can be commended enough. I would like to say how proud I am of Residents in Action. I'm sorry I missed that meeting. I'm sorry I got sick, but it worked out the way I was hoping it would work out. You stepped into the breach and have done yeoman's work on behalf of the city, and can't appreciate your work enough. And it was dicey in the beginning. We still have some refinement to go, but I'm really proud of Residents in Action, and I think everyone in the city should commend you for your efforts, because the reason we focus on homelessness is because it's a city problem and it belongs to all of us, and it affects everything. These are lives, so it affects their personal lives, and it affects how people live in the city, view the city, when they see someone in need who's not getting need. And we don't have all the answers, and sometimes we don't even know what questions to ask. But we're better served because of you and your team at Residents in Action.
Thank you.
And pretty much all I need to say about that.
I appreciate that. Thanks. I do think that we have saved lives over that really cold spurt over the winter. I think we truly did.
And we also can't control the weather, or just put a large group of people out, because we're experiencing the third fall here in Michigan, because we all know that
It
winter can
change.
creep back up in the next 6 hours if it wants to. I would sincerely echo what the city manager just said.
Thank you. So, a couple other just quick questions. So first, I just want to acknowledge that businesses and individuals have been donating food. So
They have.
that's wonderful. I think that's great, and whoever's out there, businesses and individuals who've been donating, thank you to, that's, my experience is that Jackson is a very generous community, so that's great. And then there were two kind of open-ended things that I read quickly in here. So one was a question about should we house fewer people for longer periods of time, or should we house more people for shorter periods of time? So I don't know if that's a discussion that we'll have at some point, since we've got this significant wait list. And then the other was about the warming center, and I'm assuming that there'll be an update on that? Okay.
I think it's been like a learning curve. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
it's, oh, yeah.
It has truly kind of opened the eyes to some of the needs that are kind of hidden, that you don't know that are happening. So, I commend you guys too, because I know it's a lot of work and, well done to the team.
Thank you. I'll let them know.
Yes.
Just have a quick question. I'm happy to, I commend you too, and I'm happy to hear that we're gonna continue this, at least we're on track to continue this through March, and that we're triaging people instead of just on a first come, first served basis. I think that's smart. And I know it's been a little bit less than 3 weeks at this point, but can you speak to if it exists, any wraparound services that you guys are providing or outside agencies are providing to these individuals?
Yep. So through that assessment process, we identify who they've contacted, and there's a series of questions of, what are their needs? We ask them, what are your needs? What are your immediate needs? And then based on how they answer questions, like, we ask, do you have a driver's license? Do you have a birth certificate? Have you made outreach to Community Action Agency? Or, are you experiencing a domestic violence situation, so that we can connect them to the other organizations and agencies locally that can help them. So we haven't quite gotten there, because we have to, you have to have authorization releases to protect us in place. And I mean, we basically hit the ground running. We had to identify the scopes of work and, develop the work plan and do all of that before. Well, actually, we were just kind of flying the plane, building the plane as we were flying it. So, yeah.
You gotta jump and
Thank
phone
you. I
it.
appreciate it.
Just to kind of comment on the question that's referenced in here, which I'm not sure how council feels, but as far as like the decision to house people for longer periods of time, or and house fewer people or house more people for shorter periods of time, I personally think you guys should use your discretion, because I think it should be a case-by-case scenario. It's difficult to say, we'll put a deadline on when this person needs to go and let someone else stay. I think that, in all honesty, you guys are the boots on the ground. You guys are the ones with the relationships and involved intimately with who's coming and who's going and what their actual situation is. I would be fine with giving you guys that autonomy to discuss amongst yourselves how you decide to handle each case.
That's what we were hoping that you guys would say. Give us the flexibility to kind of make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. Because really, the ones that the people that the city had originally housed, that was on December 15th. And so they're due out, if we stood by that 30-day, they're due out this Friday. So
I guess, I don't know if anybody wants to make a motion or give just like a head nod, like, yes, we're
I
okay
don't
with
think we
that.
tied our hands when we gave, yeah.
Yeah.
I think what we can do is we'll get with Corey and some of the financial staff and game out what that looks like and what some projected ideas of, because it sounds like you have a really strong algorithm, and then we can look at some of the ways the wraparound services, providing services, what estimated timelines those be, and try to probably put a couple different scenarios to council what that would look like, just as a report. I think the mayor's 100% correct. You know what you're doing, and
So just a quick question, how many of those people that were in that initial pool are still in hotels?
So
Or what's the
there's
outcome?
10, approximately 10. It might have been 8 or 10 that are not, and we were able to fill that gap.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I like Dwayne too, just about ready to say go. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll wait you out.
I know you got more girls in your family, so you've had practice.
One other thing, I will say that when you look at the report, you will see this, that the majority of the people are from the city of Jackson, but there are out county. So that's my plug and my cry for the county to kind of step up to help with this, because it's not just a city issue, it is a county issue. We did have a couple of people who were not from Jackson, but they've been homeless in Jackson for 3 months or more, either living in the hotel. Also, what the other plug is that longer-term strategy to build up. I mean, we have some people who have lived in hotels, and it's not just a single case, people living in the hotels for upward of 5 years. 5 years. And I mean, they're not paying what I pay for my mortgage. It's double. So I think when you have that fixed income, you're on Social Security disability, and you only have $100 or less after you pay your rent, and what you're paying is double what the average, I think what is in Jackson, the average rental is about $800. It might even be a little less than that. And you're paying double that on a fixed income of $1,600. Yeah.
Well, I got a good friend who was just appointed to the Jackson County Board of Commissioners. And their meeting is 1 week from today, which will be his first meeting. I think maybe I'll go pay him a visit and make a public comment that we would like any help that the county might be able to offer.
You want me to bird? That'd be weird.
It would, especially from the public comment from over there. Well, thank you again. I don't know if anybody else has any last thoughts, but I just want to say thank you again.
Thank you for the opportunity. All right.
So, all minds clear, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, that brings us down to item D, consent calendar. Looking for a motion and support on the consent calendar.
So moved.
Slowly motioned.
I just wasn't sure if I had to pull J out again, but I don't think so.
Support.
Slow support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Of course, that is accepted with item J being removed. Moves us to number 10. We have no other business.
I'd like to make a motion to add an agenda item on 10. We just had that conversation for old business.
That was other business. Okay, old business.
Old business. Make a
guess we can
motion for
consider
an
that-
update on the rest of the homeless situation.
Under other business?
Under other, I'm sorry.
I know, see, you're confusing me.
I'm sorry.
Ain't no
I'm
old
sorry.
business on
I
here.
only read the O.
I feel you.
You're
I
right.
feel you.
I knew it was 10.
Okay, so that would make item 10A, there's a motion on the floor to have an update on the homeless situation.
Remaining of the homeless conversation.
A lot of discussion.
Huh? Discussion.
I'll support it.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, clerk will tally and display. Okay, I think it'd probably be most proper to ask city manager if you could just give us a brief update. And then we will do one round of comments, left to right, and see where we land from there.
If it's okay, what do you want to talk about?
So, at the last council meeting, we asked for detailed on how the $10,000 was spent. I do recognize we went through Christmas and New Year's, and Corey's been a little overwhelmed. So, I just want to make sure that we get that at the next council meeting.
Okay.
And you already took care of residents in action. I'd like an update on TA Wilson, the pallets, and the pallet situation. And I would like to make a comment that I've heard several times, people think that it's just easy opening a homeless shelter and that anybody can go in there, but there's a reason that they're not in the homeless shelter, at the Interface Shelter. They may not be able to be in a shelter that the city creates. And I just hope people understand that they can't come up here and assume that just because the city helps with a warming shelter, I think there may be some greater details as to who can and cannot go in there if they've got problems, deeper problems. But I'm no expert in that field. But I would like a ongoing update on the TA Wilson and the pallets, please.
Okay, so you guys voted to purchase the pallets the last meeting. They've been ordered. We've had our invoice for half of the amount. And then we've also been connected with their deployment team, so we can talk about the logistics when they arrive. So that's what's happening with that. It's pretty straightforward on that one. And then discussions continued after, right after the first of the year. When was that? When did we talk to? Talk with JPS to talk both lease and purchase options and potential timelines. And I have a meeting tomorrow to just go over some last concerns about the property transfer. And then also along with that, staff is beginning to work on a request for proposals for someone to help operate a warming center in the annex building. So really, there's not much to update because it's all still in progress, kind of like nothing quite ready for prime time yet, but that's where we stand right now.
So is the request for proposal for a warming shelter for just this year?
That's something I haven't decided yet. I think it might be best for just this year. We're trying to do a lot of things at once, and none of these things we've ever done before. So I think it's probably best to take a level of action that doesn't get us too far in front of ourselves.
Do we have a date that we expect the pallet shelters to be delivered?
I was on the paperwork originally mid-February, and I don't know if anything's changing with that. I have to continue the discussions with their deployment team, but that was what was expected.
Do you expect to have ownership of TA Wilson by the time the pallets are here?
I'm hopeful. That's the plan.
If you don't, do you have a alternative
Not at the moment,
location? Okay.
but in talking with.
We know a realtor who has a bunch of property.
Well, I know a city that's got a lot of vacant property, so.
I know where a parking lot is. Yeah, that's the hope, obviously. That makes sense. We were trying to construct, for lack of a better term, like a housing and homeless campus where people can access services and also stay. So it makes the most sense to do it there in my mind. And I'm not ready to really talk about a backup plan. I'll have it in the back of my mind, be thinking about it, but I'm so committed and driven to what we're doing now, I'm not gonna take my eyes off that goal and push forward to get this deal closed.
And then one other question, was there a proposal for sheds other than the pallets? Because I had talked to someone today about a totally different thing, and they had mentioned that the Salvation Army maybe, or somebody had given a proposal for sheds, or maybe, I may not. I forgot to go back to the conversation to find out more about that.
Don't
So-
know anything what you're talking about.
Okay, all right. I'll have to call him and ask him what he was talking about. All right.
When you say ownership of the property, you're talking about the lease?
No, I'm talking about.
We'd have to vote for that, correct?
We-
As a council?
yeah.
Okay. You're not gonna unilaterally buy that building out from under us?
No, can't do
Okay,
that.
just checking.
Wouldn't be wise. I mean, I could, probably be the last thing I do, but.
But we just don't want to end up with another Masonic temple.
Okay.
Can we have this on the agenda until the end of March? So actually, the first meeting in April, so we can summarize what happened, and maybe if we need to start getting ready for next year, so we
Yeah.
don't wait.
That sounds good.
How long did it take, Daniel, for us to, was it 4 meetings, 4 months?
Of this issue,
Mm-hmm. 3 months? Yeah,
I think we're going on 4 months this month
so,
of it being talked about.
okay. Thank you.
I'm just looking for any other comments on this particular item right now.
I do have a question. So I think on the, at the last meeting, we also talked about touring TA Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, that reminds me.
yeah,
Actually, all my papers are covered up. We've had the building looked at with our inspectors and some, like, specialists. And what my goal is now is to invite council and the public through the building after I talk things over with the other side. Always have to remember this, it's not a one-party thing.
yep.
That, because it's gonna be more involved. It's more
Okay.
open house related, more visioning related, and it's a little more intensive than just letting some city staff go through there. So we gotta make sure that the other side is happy with that, they understand our plan and things like that.
Okay.
But yes, I have a draft of a memo I wanna send to everybody about that, what we found in the building.
Do they have power, I assume they have power, lights in the building?
There's a hamster in the basement just running around, generating the electricity.
I mean, they did a nice job
Big
of
hamster.
boarding up the windows,
Yeah,
so,
it did. It preserved
Yeah,
the
they
property really well.
yeah.
And it goes, you'll see that in what I give to you guys, I got a draft of it, like I said. With visual,
Visual aids.
yes, visual aids.
Did that answer all your questions?
Yeah,
Okay, Mr. Dancy?
No
Vice Mayor?
questions.
Big Will? Care? Laura? Okay. I think all questions are answered on that. And then we will just keep this as a standing item until we get all things situated. Okay, that takes care of our other business, brings us down to item number 11. On 11A, looking for a motion and support to approve the JNet interlocal agreement.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes, brings us down to item B, looking for a motion and support for the approval of contract award of the sodium hydroxide system improvements at the City of Jackson Water Treatment Plant to Monroe Plumbing and Heating Company of Monroe, Michigan, in the amount of $395,000 to be funded by the city local recovery funds under the American Rescue Plan Act.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I just would like to have the what is the plant manager, the
Plant supervisor.
plant supervisor, just come up, just explain a little bit about this, please.
Make the new guy come up and
Come on,
explain.
you can do it. Don't be shy.
While he's coming up here, I'd like to point out that Nick isn't actually a new guy. Nick has been with the cities, 17, 18 years?
Right on.
18 years, worked his
Who's
way up,
counting? It's great.
and knows the water plant in and out. And I'm very proud. I had the chance to be a part of Nick's most recent promotion, and he is the right person for the job at our water plant, unequivocally.
Thank you. So the current equipment is original to the plant, which was from '75. There has been a couple cracks in some casings. They've been welded. There's basically no repairs that can be made to the current equipment. It needs to be updated completely. The fill lines are also original, and we're worried is the corrosiveness of the chemical that we could have a leak, which would be a safety hazard to employees at the plant. So that's all gonna be updated with that. Just a simple fact of bringing us forward, making our plant better, more efficient for the city and for the public. I mean, our main concern is public health, and that's including our staff. So that's the main purpose for this project here.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Nick, and congratulations on the
Thank you.
promotion.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Passes and brings us down to item C, looking for a motion to support on Amendment 2 to the Professional Engineering Services Contract with Fishbeck in the amount of $36,404.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved, double, and supported. Discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes and brings us down to item D. Looking for a motion and support to changes to the standard lighting contract for streetlights with Consumers Energy for removal of streetlights on Wisner Street and Washington Avenue.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes, brings us down to item E, looking for a motion and support for change order 2 to the miscellaneous construction contract with Bailey Excavating in the amount of $89,248.97.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes, brings us down to item F, looking for a motion and support to request to adopt a resolution approving a selected project for additional funds for the 2023 to 2026 Transportation Improvement Plan.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes, brings us down to item G. Looking for a motion and support on Amendment 2 to the 2022 Major Street Engineering Contract in the amount of $109,825. And that's a not-to-exceed cost. Correct. For that project.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. All right, item passes, brings us down to item H, looking for a motion and support on Amendment 1 to the engineering and project administration for SCADA software updates contract for the City of Jackson wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $96,250. That's a not-to-exceed cost on that particular item.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
It's been moved
Support.
and supported. Any discussion on the item? Laura, you biting that finger. You look like you got a question.
I don't.
Okay. I just want to make sure. You sure before?
Positive.
Okay, the clerk will tally and display the vote. That brings us down to item I, looking for a motion and support for revocation of the conditional Phase 1 Class C license and development agreement for Wildwood Essence LLC.
So moved. Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item?
Could you just clarify, are they doing something different or they're just not doing?
Change their mind.
Okay.
There's too many price drops going down in that industry, Mr. Dancy.
Is this the one Freddie votes yes on?
We're all waiting with bated breath.
The clerk will tally and display the vote.
I was gonna say, he gonna support this.
Item J, looking for a motion and support to approve an extension of the development agreement between City of Jackson and Leon Cannabis LLC.
So moved.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes. Brings us down to item K, looking for a motion and support to approve the purchase of one 2023 Ford F-450 XL cab and chassis 4x4 DRW regular cab and Airflow PSC 9.3 dump body through My Deal in the amount of $54,589 for that part. And then I'm just going to read this because it's too much. So the cab, regular cab from Gorno Ford in the amount of $54,589, and the Airflow PSC 9.3 dump body purchased through and installed by Automotive Service Company in the amount of $21,213.17 for a total purchase amount of $75,802.17 through My Deal, and a 10% contingency of $7,580.22 for a total amount of $83,382.39.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the item?
Is this electric?
It is not.
Okay.
I am going to a conference and training for fleet vehicles where electrification of fleets is going to be the main topic, so.
I would like to point out that the vehicle they're replacing was built in 2001, so I think it's safe to say we're getting our money's worth out of the vehicles we use. Probably just pushing across to Omnisource at that point, right?
It goes to
It's probably
auction.
gonna be going to auction and sold to somebody else.
And someone will buy it who has the time and money to keep it going. It's not us.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes. Brings us down to item L, looking for a motion and support for contract award for 2023 Major Street Engineering.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Excuse me, item passes. That brings us down to item M. Looking for a motion and support for contract award for 2023 Lansing Avenue Corridor Engineering in the amount of $452,451.30.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the item?
I have a question for Mr. Engineer. So with this one, with Clinton, with that curve with Clinton, what are they gonna do something different with that?
Yes.
Man, don't just say yes. Don't just say yes.
Well, I realized that I didn't have the button pushed when I first started talking. With that, we want to realign Clinton so that it's no longer just a Y intersection. It'll be connected to Hill Street, and it will make it more of a standard cross intersection. It will also narrow up the where the stop bars are on Lansing Avenue right now. They are probably about 200 feet apart. When we get done, they're gonna be about 75 feet apart.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I assume we have a drawing of this.
Yes, actually, I propose to have a meeting probably mid-February to have a presentation of what all we're looking to do on the Lansing Avenue corridor, and so you'll see the graphics, know what we're trying to do with the intersections, everything else.
Great.
I don't see a roundabout in here. I know you like roundabouts.
No,
I'm
there's
a
no
little
roundabouts in
disappointed.
this one.
I know.
Any other discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes. Brings us down to item N. Looking for a motion and support for considering the first reading on amendment to Article 6, Division 2, Section 18-156 of the City Code to correct, I don't know what that says, scribers? Scriveners? Oh, okay. I always thought that was scribblers' error, but it's scriveners' errors. Okay.
So moved.
It's moved and
Second.
seconded. Discussion on the item.
When city managers make a mistake, it's a scribbler's error.
I see.
When attorneys make a mistake, it's all, you know, big words and stuff like that.
Understood, understood. Any other discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. All right, and that item passes, brings us down to, man, you don't even want the ordinance corrected, huh? I feel you. That's consistency right there, boy. That is consistency. All right, brings us down to item O. Looking for a motion and support. Looking for a motion and support to consider first reading on amendment to Chapter 2, Article 6, Section 2-451, record and data retention of the city code.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. All right, brings us down to item P. Looking for a motion and support to approve the sale of city-owned property located at 109 Hollywood for $11,000.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the item?
I just want to know, from the picture, it looks like the house is sinking.
Not our problem, but I'm gonna let the city manager.
I mean, somebody must, it's not sinking, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's an odd-looking picture. It's not
a photo
sinking.
from, it's a photo
like
from
a
somebody
Wizard
slouched
of
back
Oz
in a
kind of
car.
Yeah, right.
It looks like a.
You know what, that is exactly what it is, because it's the assessor's photo, so.
I know,
Yeah.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from the street.
Looks like it was in the Wizard of Oz, and it just
Yeah.
landed, and there's a witch under one side of it.
Go visit and look under.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes, brings us down to item Q, looking for a motion for amendment to Chapter 28 of the City of Jackson zoning ordinance.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Do you want to just give just a light overview of what
Yeah,
that is?
I can give a light overview. We've, I think anyone sitting at this table and anyone sitting in the crowd can tell that the city of Jackson in, here in 2023 is a lot different than it looked 10 or 12 years ago. And that was through the work of some hard decisions and some hard choices made by the Planning Commission and this body to increase our standards and ask people who redevelop properties to meet some certain thresholds. And I think that my predecessor who sat in this chair deserves a lot of credit for pushing for those changes, for getting the buy-in from the councils at the time, and from getting the buy-in from the development community. We are in a very different place, and we're better for some of the choices we made back then. However, we find ourselves now in a wholly different position, where the cost to renovate, rehabilitate, construct anything costs an astronomical price. And so the Planning Commission, I challenged the Planning Commission, well, actually challenged our city planner to look more broadly at how we can encourage redevelopment of some of our more distressed properties. The low-hanging fruit has been plucked. Now we are looking at properties that need a significant amount of money to rehabilitate. And the changes that the Planning Commission made to allow longer time for existing nonconformities to be rectified, especially with respect to vacant buildings, will go a long way to helping people redevelop properties. And this is really just the beginning. you know, we have our eyes on some of the other requirements that we feel unduly hamstring people with respect to parking lot size and things like that. I think we have a bar in the city of Jackson that our new developers and people looking to redevelop properties will meet without even being asked to. They know that in order to compete in the business world, they need to attract customers, and they need to look at their neighbors and look at their competition and say, well, if they've got a nice parking lot, I probably need to have a nice parking lot too. If they have some nice landscaping and it looks attractive, we really need to do that too from a competitive standpoint. The market is taking over what the city was doing through regulations. And so in my mind, it's fair to back some of these things off. And it's just the beginning. I know that Brian Taylor and Chris Atkin think critically about a lot of aspects of our built environment, and they take to heart the questions and concerns and suggestions that get made, like, hey, can I just do that? And so this is a step in making it in black and white, so we're backed by an ordinance. And like I said, it's just the beginning. We have a couple more ideas with some of those other ideas, but this will definitely make it easier for people to redevelop properties in the city of Jackson. And also, there's another thing in here on section 28-253, allows for some lit pendant signs in downtown. That Chris worked with the DDA and asked for their input. So pendant sign is something that extends over the sidewalk. With technology these days, you can keep them lit at night and have a business logo. And I think when you look downtown, we're activated all the time now, and so it makes sense for people to know where to go to get a bite to eat or shop. And so it's more business friendly in a nutshell.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I totally agree, and I will give a shortened version. We are trying to make it easier to do business in the city of Jackson. I will speak firsthand about like one of the first conversations that I had with the city manager was about like that being probably one of the largest things that people around the community have spoken about, potential developers have spoken about, people who want to open businesses in the city of Jackson have spoke about how difficult it is. And I see the look on our community development director's face about that comment, because we've had that same conversation as well. And I think that no matter how you spin it, perception is reality. And I'm just happy to see these changes being made. Happy to see these changes being made. And thank you to the staff who worked on this also.
So this is non-conforming properties, right? There's a respected business person in the community that owns a rental property in and about the North Pleasant and Ganson Street multi-unit that has no parking, and wanted to buy a city lot adjacent to it to put in a garage and a driveway so his tenants could get off the street. Would this fall under that?
Without looking at the specific details, site plans, applicant, zoning, it's hard for me to tell. I would hope so, but.
Yeah, because it was told to him that because his property or something is non-conforming at this moment in time, that they wouldn't want to increase the non-conformance use.
Yeah, for an existing non-conformity, it may not, but the devil's always in the details, so I'd be happy to talk about that with that person directly, or definitely not in this
I will get you their
environment.
name, because they do a good job, they do a nice job, both as a business person and as a landlord, and it would be nice to get cars off the street when we can, for both congestion and for snow plowing and leaf pickup and all that stuff, so. But thank you for doing this.
Okay. Any other comment? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. All right, item passes. That deserves an applause. I appreciate that, for sure. City manager comments. Can I switch?
You guys don't want to go first?
You want us to go first?
Yeah, go first.
Okay,
I'm typing a text to staff members, so I gotta finish that.
right on. Let's go left to right. Angelita Gunn.
Oh, Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, I really don't, I appreciate the update from Residents in Action, and it's a daunting task. And I think with the city and businesses and other nonprofits being partners, that's really what it's gonna take. And I appreciate having a standing item and continued discussion on other projects. So, yeah, looking forward to 2023.
Right. East side.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Happy New Year. Glad to see everyone back. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you again in 2 more weeks. I see you out there, Shane. Be nice. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to congratulate and thank, I should say, for all the hard work Rhea has done. It's amazing. And the report, haven't really had a chance to read through it because I read slow, like Laura said. I read slow. But, you know, I know it's a lot of work, but you are appreciated. I just want you and your team to know that. And then congratulations to, I think Nick's gone now, but recent promotion. And thank everybody for coming out, and Happy New Year, and looking for a much better 2023. Let's hope and pray that it's a better year for us. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Fourgraves. All right. Councilmember Karen.
I'll say happy New Year along with everybody else. I also do want to thank Tasha and her team, as well as our city staff, for all of the work that they've been putting in for our homeless citizens. And I do want to make sure that we do call them citizens. They do live here, even though they might not have a permanent address right now. I think that this is something that is a long time coming for us. I know we talked about it for 3 or 4 months at this point, and I think that we're making some really good progress, especially with T.A. Wilson coming and the pallets coming. I will happily address the questions and concerns about the pallets and why we purchased them and why we didn't send out an RFP for those. So in regards to that, I don't know if you were who was at this meeting and who wasn't at the last special meeting that we had. We sent out the RFP, and we had a handful of people respond to that. We had Rhea, I believe COC responded to that. There were a couple of respondents to that RFP that we did send out, and Rhea did have the most, I think, comprehensive and competitive proposal for that. I know that they are a great organization who is a boots on the ground organization that really does a lot of work directly with those citizens. In terms of the pallets, that was something that, you know, we requested. I know that our mayor and our city manager had requested that proposal and that presentation by pallet. And that was something that was part of our discussions. It was separate from the RFP that was sent out. I do think that that was a great decision that we made, along with the decision to participate with Rhea and to partner with them to help with our homeless population. I stand by that vote. I'm sure everyone else in this room stands by their votes for everything that we vote on in this room, to make sure that we take care of not just our constituents that are able to vote, but every single person that lives within our city. Other than that, again, Happy New Year, and I will again see you all in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Councilmember Schlechte.
Just a couple things. I really like the transparency, the detail that think it was Shane Laporte that provided it on the 5 houses that the city had and what the money was. And so I'd like to see that transparency continue, and I'd like to see it in agendas for our committees or our commissions. This is coming up January 26th, and the Building Board of Reviews and Appeals, I don't think meets very often. And there's a list of houses, but it doesn't give you a clue as to why they're on an agenda. So, and the meeting minutes, I think it's important. I really like how the environmental committee committee minutes read. You can you don't have to necessarily go to the meeting to know what happened. So I would just like to see us work on that. And I appreciate you putting the documents up online from the December 20th so that the community can see those proposals that were out there. So that, and going along with the transparency, I know that we as council and there are employees that are involved in a lot of nonprofits. And I think it would behoove us to understand who is involved in which nonprofits. Now, we all know Angelita's involved with the Aware Shelter, but if somebody's on a board of directors or owns a nonprofit or something, I think that it would help us just to know who that is, so that we can make informed decisions if we need to in the future. And then the last thing would be Roger Mofert has talked twice now, I think, about the psychedelics. Is that something that we should be looking at, Jonathan?
I mean, that's up to you guys.
Well,
Do
I
you
don't
want to?
know. I mean, you've gone to, I'm sure you have city, or you have manager meetings where you're talking to other city managers and stuff. Are there sample ordinances out there? Is there somebody who's having problems with it, or they think it's a great thing?
This, to the best of my knowledge, this isn't on many people's radar.
Okay. All right, well, he's been here a couple times, and marijuana started that way, and I know Freddie's over there just shaking his head. But we like to give him more things to vote no on. And thank you for everybody's help on the homeless issue. We really appreciate your efforts.
I will start with, thank you, by the way, Laura. I will start by if our city manager would, or actually, I don't know if you want to defer this to Mr. Attorney, so kindly explain the reason why we were able to purchase the pallet shelters for Daniel Mahoneyville, as Mr. King so politely put it. How we were able to purchase those and not have to go through the process of a request for proposal.
Yeah, our purchasing policy, and this was laid out in the memo on the night, which is now online. Our purchasing policy allows sole sourcing of materials and products under certain situations. And one of those, they have to do with scarcity of resources, an emergent need, and limited amount of people, organizations, or manufacturers who can supply what we are looking to. And so I wrote the memo saying that, based on my opinion, it met those criteria. And so you had that on the night to consider. Obviously, that was my opinion about that, and that's why it was laid out the way it was. But I certainly believed it fit, and I stand behind that, and I think it was a good vote. I don't want to steal your thunder, Mr. Mayor, but you said something that I thought was very appropriate when considering these pallet structures. They're one component, they're one aspect of a total solution. It is not an end-all, be-all. And there are as many types of homeless people as there are people in this world, and not every person fits with our ideas of prescribed solutions. And that's why I felt it was important for this council to consider that And it was also important, in my opinion, to move forward with it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in the many discussions that I've had with people in the industry, people who are boots on the ground, people who are involved in serving homeless people, the one common part of the conversation is that in many cases there is only a concern by some people in the fact that they want the problem resolved. They just don't want the resolution to involve or impact their lives, right? So no one comes here to complain about there being a row of tents along the Grand River where people are living at right now, under whatever their circumstances may be, whether they are mentally ill, whether they are drug abusers, whether they are just on hard times, or whatever difficulties they are having because they are out of sight, out of mind, and they are not in my backyard, they are not in front of my business, they are not impeding on me getting to the ATM or on my way to a nice dinner, they are not bothering me, therefore they are not a problem because they are not my problem. And I have a problem with that. I think that this is not a City of Jackson problem. This is a problem that exists nationwide, that the City of Jackson is attempting to do something different. Because if you continue to do the same thing and expect different results, that is called insanity. We are attempting to do something different, and it's going to take some times where we have to make different decisions, and we have to make equitable decisions, whether individuals like the word equity or not. That is what I believe we all stand for. No matter how different of an opinion the 6 people who I serve with and all of the staff that work for the City of Jackson may have on how we arrive at what the final destination is, what I do know is we all agree that we got to get to the final destination. And it takes compromise, and it takes us working together, and it takes us having long meetings some night and working our differences out. And I appreciate everybody's differences in working on this issue, because I have said several times that homelessness ain't important to you until you've experienced it yourself. Until you have to deal with it. Kelly, I really appreciate your comments and your co-workers' comments, because hearing that firsthand account of someone literally coming into a laundry room to sleep is the conversations that bring this issue to reality, because there are some people who will minimize it and make you think that it does not exist here in Jackson, but it does. And it's an issue that we are attempting to do our part. We're not trying to fix the whole thing, but my belief is that our obligation is to do what we can, which is what I feel like we are doing. Mr. Laporte said that there are some high school students in the building. Shout out to whatever high school you came from. Thank you guys for coming out. Happy New Year. I'm fired up. I'm rested. Ready for whatever fights we may have in the upcoming year, and I'm here to do the work. For the last year, well, I would say probably for about the last 6 months or so, the question that I start getting from people, as they probably thought I was wearing down, is it everything you expected? And I tell everybody the same answer every time. I came into the job, because it is a job, with zero expectations except for the fact that I knew it was going to be hard work, but I'm here for the hard work. That's just the bottom line. I'm here for the hard work. So I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that my brother's birthday is coming up on Monday, January 16th. Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday is coming up. And yes, he's my brother. He was a member of the illustrious, most wonderful, best fraternity that there ever was on the planet of Earth, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And I got another brother here in the audience, just want to shout you out as well. And I just want to share a quote with you that is probably the most impactful quote from Dr. King that I've heard. It's my favorite. I mean, there's several that you can choose from. I implore you to do some research and don't just stick with the I have a dream, but like dig a little deeper and find a different one to attach yourself to during this time of remembrance. And the one that I like the most is, in the end, we will not remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. There's an MLK breakfast on Friday. There's an MLK dinner on Saturday. But that does not excuse you on Monday just because it is a day off. It is a day of service. Go somewhere and serve is what I would ask you to do. Find someone who needs some help. Find another event. There's actually 2 more events. The NAACP has an event over at Greater Bible Way, starts at 10 a.m. if you want to go there. And then Jackson High has a Day of Hoops festival over at the high school. Find somewhere to serve. That would be my comments for tonight. And at this time, we're looking for a motion to support. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're looking for a motion support your jury.
Let me get this going. You good?
Okay, well, with that.
So move.
It's been moved,
Second,
slowly supported by the West Side.
West Side.
All in favor?
Ah.
Not gonna say anything after that. Are you kidding?
Disbursement of funds.
That Elmer snuck out when I was.
We'll just give you a copy of their